From the headquarters of Tell Us Your English in Quito, Ecuador. This is From the South, and I am Soini Gray. A new earthquake has shaken Venezuela. A 5.7 magnitude earthquake has been registered in the northeastern state of Sucre. No fatalities have been reported so far. This aftershock has also been felt in Trinidad and Tobago. After the first 6.9 earthquake, the government has activated all emergency and damage assessment protocols. Tremors have been felt throughout most of the coast and in the neighboring countries of the Caribbean.
We have activated all the equipment of the risk management system for damage assessment and needs analysis. At this time, no victims are reported.
The earthquake sent residents into a panic. Many of them fled from office and apartment buildings in several parts of the country. The epicenter was on the eastern coast, home to many fishing communities.
I really felt it, just standing right here. I felt it. It lasted for a long time. It lasted about a minute. So just imagine the people who live in the upper floors. I bet they are traumatized.
Thank God that nothing happened. We all got off the building, those who could, because some couldn't go down as, you know, the earthquake is so fast.
Ecuadorian President Lenin Moreno has announced an increase in fuel prices among other new economic measures. Moreno says his plan is aimed at reducing public spending, but critics believe that this might have a negative effect on employment and internal demand. The president also announced 20 state institutions will be eliminated. According to local media, this will result in the loss of 900 jobs. Our correspondent Denise Herrera has more from Quito.
Hello, yes, indeed, President Lenin Moreno have announced new economic measure related to the new economic plan that to reduce the fiscal deficit and to reduce the public spending. President Lenin Moreno confirmed that he will disappear several institutions and some institutions will remain. The ministry that will disappear are the Ministry of Justice and the National Secretary of Communications, SECOM. Others will merge, as in the case of the Ministry of Foreign Trade with the Ministry of Industries. Also the Internal Revenue Service, SRE, with the Customs Service and more. Also President Moreno announced the increase on fuel prices. The premium or super, as we call here in Ecuador, will cost from $2.32 to $2.98. The price of diesel will remain, and President Moreno also said that the fuel subsidy costs Ecuador more than $3 billion, and it will benefit the poor people. Also, he said that he will call to a national dialogue table to find the best way to face this economic measure and to find a way that benefits those who really need it. Also, the government said that they have been identified money from corruption in Panama and the United States, and he said that the government is also working to find this money and to bring it back to the country. According to the government, there will be a saving of more than $100 million per year. So these economic measures have generated mixed reaction, some in favor and others against this economic measure, because people say that this economic plan just benefit the big companies. So that is all for now. We will keep you posted with more information as soon as we can. Back to you at the studio.
Thank you, Denise. The Revolutionary Alternative Forces of the Commons Party in Colombia has denounced the murders of 2 former FARC combatants. The murders occurred in Colombia's southern department of Cauca, just 100 meters from a military post. Party members are urging President Ivan Duque to protect the former fighters and to fully implement the peace accords. They also want the crimes to be investigated. Meanwhile, the indigenous leader Olmes Alberto Nusque has been murdered in the state of Nariño. He was killed close to a police station on Sunday. Just days before, he had called the protection unit for help. He is the 149th social leader or activist killed in Colombia this year. On Sunday, Colombians will be voting in an anti-corruption referendum. It is the first popular consultation in the country's history.
People will vote on 7 questions aimed at saying yes to political transformation and no to corruption. Citizens will cast their vote to decide on a series of reforms to boost transparency and toughen corruption sentences. Among them, the most pressing are cutting congressmen and high official wages, assuring jail sentences for corruption cases, barring condemned officials from occupying a public seat again, and revealing politicians' properties and income. Over 4 million signatures were collected before the referendum was approved. Boosted by the Colombian Green Alliance Party, this initiative aims to call all citizens to support the fight against corruption beyond personal ideologies.
Hace un año exactamente entregamos los más de 4 millones de firmas.
4 million citizens have raised their voice to the anti-corruption measures that the Congress has so far rejected. Congressmen don't want to give up their privileges to high wages, to illegally awarded contracts, and to avoid strong punishments for corruption charges. That's why we Colombians are voting for and changing with the referendum.
Vamos a ir a votar el próximo 26 de agosto.
With 84 votes, the Senate approved the referendum. Organizations are campaigning for people to vote yes on all 7 questions. The referendum needs a minimum of 12 million votes to be approved. That is 1/3 of the electoral census. But the campaigners actually want 15 million Colombians to vote.
A los millones de colombianos. Por eso tenemos que ir a votar el 26 de agosto.
We all need to say yes in all 7 questions because we are the ones who need to defend our pockets and recover all the money lost because of corruption. Otherwise, politicians will increase taxes and reduce pensions to cover the financial hole.
There is no doubt that this referendum is a historic milestone in this country.
As some have said, members of the ruling Democratic Center Party opposed the consultation, although President Iván Duque has asked them to support the referendum.
We need to support some proposals no matter where they come from, when they are useful for the country. For that reason, I've asked my party to support the referendum, and we're going to campaign for it, so all Colombians join the fight against corruption.
However, some members of Duque's party, among them former President and Senator Álvaro Uribe, say the referendum is just populist. Meanwhile, opposition parties are criticizing Duque for what they say is his lack of involvement.
De construir y nunca destruir.
President Duque called all mayors to support the anti-corruption referendum, so we can see if our president is truly on the side of those who fight corruption.
Las propuestas que han sido presentadas.
Corruption has traditionally been pointed out as one of the country's main problems. In 2017, Colombia only scored 37 points out of 100, 0 being very corrupt and 100 very transparent. That's according to Transparency International's Corruption Perception Index. It remains below the world's average of 43 points.
We'll take a short break now, but join us again for more news from around Latin America.
Telesur brings you special interviews with social and political personalities. Monday, from Washington. Tuesday, from Mexico. Wednesday, from Caracas. Thursday, from Quito. Friday, from Havana. Analysis about our continent's reality. Weekdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. The Mexican government has announced that an agreement with the U.S. on the North American Free Trade Agreement is imminent. Both sides have been holding talks since last month to settle their differences over NAFTA. U.S. President Donald Trump has long complained that the accord hampered manufacturing in the United States while benefiting Mexico. He has also threatened to dump the accord if it is not reworked to the advantage of the United States. Conservative groups in Argentina have started a campaign against Senator and former President Cristina Fernández de Kirchner. Thousands have gathered in front of Congress to pressure senators to strip Fernández of her parliamentary immunity. They are also asking for police raids on her homes amid a corruption scandal. Fernández de Kirchner has denied any personal involvement in corruption. Elsewhere in Argentina, protesters and police have clashed in a workers' march. Rubber bullets and tear gas was used to disperse the demonstration. 6 people have been arrested. The workers are angry about the possibility of massive layoffs. Our correspondent Egada Esteban has more details.
A new wave of violent repression by security forces against protesters. This time against the mobilization at La Plata City, in Buenos Aires, in which the workers of the Rio Santiago shipyard protested against the closing of this very important plant for the construction of ships in Argentina. This mobilization came after the ignored complaints made by the workers to Buenos Aires' governor María Eugenia Vidal, and ended up in clashes with the police. Many people were injured by rubber bullets and even police cars. Some people were arrested. The reason that workers remained outside the Buenos Aires governor's office asking for explanations. All this took place only a few meters from the place in which the funeral of Chicha Mariani was taking place. She was one of the founder grandmothers of Plaza de Mayo. The events have been rejected by some human rights groups. This is part of the difficult situation lived every day in Argentina, and comes as a response against the repressive neoliberal policies applied by Mauricio Macri, and today by the Buenos Aires governor, to prevent people from protesting against layoffs and social inequality.
Experts are alarmed about Argentina's foreign debt. The country's been suffering serious hardship after President Mauricio Macri implemented new economic policies.
Argentine foreign debt keeps growing at an alarming rate. There is recession in the country as its debt has grown rapidly in the first 6 months of the year, following a record amount of loan taken by the government and devaluation of Argentine peso compared to the US dollar.
En relación a las pautas del Fondo Monetario es muy difícil que se cumplan.
It is very difficult to fulfill the agreements with IMF. On one hand, it is true that we get US dollars from IMF, but at the same time, we are losing US dollars, the ones that Argentina produces. We have a commercial deficit of $30 billion, and that is very concerning. The central bank still intervenes in the currency exchange process, and the more they do it, the more our currency devaluates, and the more reserves Argentina loses.
The $50 billion US loan from IMF shows that the current government's economic diagnosis was wrong, and that the amount was shared only with certain groups, causing huge discontent among people.
The most concerning of this is the debt in the US dollars. The debt in pesos is something that we can manage on our own, but the debt in the US dollars is very difficult to pay, but we must pay it. The problem is the speed with which we are acquiring the debt and the real reasons for which we are doing it.
The increase in debt in the past few months has created an alarming rise in unemployment and a fast social decay among the most vulnerable sectors.
This economic model that prioritizes speculation must change into a model that thinks first of the domestic market. That's necessary to let people purchase basic services and products with their salaries, which they have been continuously losing. If this doesn't happen, our industry will be deeply affected.
The uncontrolled pace of debt hasn't yielded any positive results yet. This shows that the coming times will be difficult for the nation. During the last 2 years and a half of government, Argentine foreign debt reached more than $150 billion US.
Over 4 million Venezuelans have received their voucher for the transition to the new currency. Thousands of Venezuelans have taken to the streets to support the economic measures that took effect on Monday. They later gathered to hear an address from the President of the Constituent National Assembly. He insists that this is a new dawn for the country. He also condemned the opposition for trying to divide the people at a time of economic recovery. A funeral has been held in Brazil for 2 soldiers shot dead in a favela during an anti-drug operation. The raid also left at least 11 other people dead. Thousands of soldiers are set to intervene in different neighborhoods and favelas in the midst of a drug war in the city. It's been 6 months since the army took over Rio security, a decision prompted by the President Michel Temer.
The violence is enormous. There are deaths every hour. Each hour someone's dead, and the families cry. As for these two, this is beyond understanding, beyond anybody's understanding.
Mexico's President Enrique Peña Nieto and President-elect Andrés Manuel López Obrador are preparing for the transition of government. During the latest meeting, they have tried to hash out their differences on important issues such as education.
The outgoing president and his successor are beginning the transition process. The men were flanked by current cabinet members and the president-elect's designated ministers when they met recently at the National Palace.
I'm the first one to admit that security hasn't improved and that it will be very difficult to revert insecurity rates.
The controversial airport project was also high on the agenda during the 2-hour-long talks.
It will be Mexicans who will decide. This is a democratic process that is meant to solve these issues.
The longtime rivals, however, did not shy away from their differences on a number of issues. In fact, Peña Nieto defended his education reform plan, which the incoming president had rejected.
We'll present our plan to abolish the reform and to start a different plan.
Both presidents were questioned about the former head of the National Education Workers Union, Elba Esther Gordillo, who has been cleared of money laundering charges.
Our education system doesn't match the times we're living, the new voices.
There were attempts to link Gordillo to López Obrador's government. He has denied these allegations from his opponents. It's still left to be seen who she will support after she rejected the education reform, which goes against teachers' rights.
Cuban President Miguel Díaz-Canel has met with a senior government official from North Korea in Havana. The two countries are working on strengthening their ties and fighting against foreign intervention. They already have agreements on education, oil, agriculture, and trade. This is the second time that one of Kim Jong-un's envoys has visited the island in just over a month. Scientists in Chile are trying to solve the mystery of dying trees. Hundreds of the iconic Araucaria trees are dying with no clear explanation. But it seems that climate change may be playing a role. Researchers believe global warming is weakening the trees, which are then killed off by disease. In the Biobío region, up to 80% of the Araucaria trees are either damaged or have died.
We know that there are climatic phenomena that are producing changes to different environments in the country. The Araucarias are subjected to this environmental pressure for a number of years because, according to locals, these environmental climatic changes may have been occurring for at least 5 to 6 years, and that coincides with the start of them seeing the Araucarias die off.
And archaeologists have found ceramics, tools, and an intact human burial site in Peru. The galleries date to the years between 1300 and 550 BC. Small robots have been helping them to explore the underground passageways. Experts have been working in the Chavin de Huantar archaeological site since June. And the Mexican city of Guadalajara has broken the Guinness World Record for the largest bead mosaic in the world. 15 indigenous artists have been working on the piece for over a month. The mosaic represents a woman in regional dress and a man in a traditional Mexican charro clothing. The work is part of an international meeting of mariachis being held in the city. Time now for the second break of this newscast. We have more news in a minute.
An occasion to enjoy the cultural diversity that defines our South American essence. Come along, find out the story behind these personalities, traditions, and artistic expressions that unite us as a whole. Real Lives. Saturdays, only on Telesur. Telesur brings you special interviews with social and political personalities. Monday, from Washington. Tuesday, from Mexico. Wednesday, from Caracas. Thursday, from Quito. Friday, from Havana. Analysis about our continent's reality. Weekdays, only on Telesur.
Welcome back. Prisoners across the United States have launched a 3-week strike over the mistreatment of inmates. They allege that prison conditions in the U.S. are akin to modern-day slavery.
Hearing a case challenging last month's presidential election results. The case was initiated by opposition leader Nelson Chamisa of the MDC Alliance, who claims the results were rigged. Although the court's verdict will be final with no right of appeal,
The economy is struggling, and all we want is restoration of good governance.
Anti-Brexit demonstrators piled up supplies of food and medical equipment outside the Department of Health in London. The display was to reinforce the fact that the UK could fall short of crucial medicine, in particular blood products affecting diabetes sufferers, if the UK leaves the EU without a deal, which is possible. It's reported that the government and suppliers are stockpiling insulin and vaccines in the worst-case scenario.
And over 100 migrants from Africa have stormed the border between Morocco and Spain, making their way to Europe. They have clashed with police, leaving 7 officers injured. This is the second time in a month that migrants have made their way over the border. And with that, we've come to the end of this news brief. For these and many other stories, you can find them on our website at telesurtv.net/English. And join us on social media. We are on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. For Telesur English, I'm Soini Gray. Thank you for watching.
Enjoy our programming from Monday to Friday.